Hello, this is Pharaoh Vincent with Nation 473. Got an update on the city, where we're at, where we're going, and what the plans are going forward. We did a thing. So I haven't quite hit critical mass of mid-range troops. I know I talked about going mid-range, but I decided to go a little early. I got tired of waiting, and I really wanted to make mid-range content. So all of my officers are like this. Basically, mid-range attack 20, mid-range expert 14s, with exception to Alexandria. She's a mid-range expert 13, so I'll catch her back up here in a little bit. That was just from the skill book loss. So whenever you respec all of your skills, you lose quite a bit. So for instance, it's 883 skill books to get from 1 to 20. Don't ask why I know that so well. And you get 846, I think, back, 843 back. So you lose 45 skill books per officer. So that really does add up. But we're recovering. I had some saved up, used a couple of extra ones that I got from skills recently. And in another month or so, we should all be back to where we were. So when we're looking at this, we now have a lovely and wonderful 866.4 MRA. Plus all of our other stats really haven't changed. So nothing else is different other than the fact that we have mid-range attack. And so I kind of wanted to talk about it a little bit in detail. And I wanted to start with a couple of reports from the other day. I had some fun. Obviously, I'm not winning every fight. I'm still testing the limits. But I will say that the limits are already a lot farther. Had a lot of uranium built up, and we went through 6 challenges from 4 different people. I can math. 1, 2, 3, 4. So I wanted to show off the very first one of these just because Homeboy here has 1115% MRA. So he's really strong. 600% melee hit points is bad, right? His fleet is somewhat decent, although I take an issue with how little frontline this man is sending. So the big issue with this fleet is there's nothing here to protect his mid-range troops. So when you're sending, that little bit of frontline, you'll just see that it's melting while he's still hitting mine. I'm able to get onto his damage dealing troops. And even though he has me beat by 300% attack, just about, I'm able to take him down with relative ease because he still hasn't gotten through my melee, right? And I've been beaten up on his squishy little rockets for better part of 40 seconds now. And, he's not going to win like that. So the thing with mid-range that a lot of people don't do right is twofold. Not enough melee, not enough back row. Right? You'll see here his Titans die almost instantly. And the reason being is as soon as Medicis bombs go off, there'll be a little blue light underneath of them. Right there. You'll see that his warplane died instantly and his male Titan dropped to less than 30% hit points in the first few seconds. And then again, goes down right there. So what ends up happening is the less targets you have available, the more Medicis bombs will start to target your Titans and warplanes and other things. So that's why you have to have some back row. You want your back row to survive just long enough for you to kill their melee would be ideal. It doesn't always happen that way. But even if it can get you through the first 10 seconds, you're already doing better because for every 10 seconds your back row survives, is 10 seconds that those IMADC bombs are going to prioritize the back row over the top of your Titans, which keeps your biggest damage dealing troops alive. So that's why I beat him. I beat this dude 3 times. I'm going to just pick the closest one, which is actually the second one. Yeah. So I'm going to pick the closest one because the first one was a blowout. And guess what? It's another mid-range dude. So the day I went mid-range is the day everyone who was mid-range decided to attack me, I guess. Says something about mid-range players. I guess we're just super aggressive. And similar thing, he has the right amount of melee. So this guy is doing better than his counterpart who has him beat by 200% attack because he's actually sending the correct amount of melee, which is about 100k or so. His issue is very similar to the issue previously stated, where he just doesn't have a lot of back row. So again, you'll see my Titans are still alive, and his female Titan and his warplane are gone. And again, my Titans are still alive. And he finally killed one of them. But guess what? I'm on to his damage dealing troops. I still have a Titan and a warplane up. Like, I'm going to win this fight no matter what at this point, because guess what? I still have a Titan alive. And that's what's going to win you the fights. So keeping your Titans alive as mid-range is the challenge. And you're going to do that with some long-range troops, because sending 2,000 snipers doesn't constitute as long range, right? Like enough. Sending 1,700 cannons, troops worth, mind you, is just not a lot. Sending 2,000, you're sending less than 15,000 back row. Compare that to the fleet that I have been using, and you're going to notice a stark difference, right? I am sending 10,000. Straight up 10,000. I'm sending 10,000. I'm sending 7,000. I'm sending 27,000 back row every single time. I'm picking 3 because I could go to 4, but there's no point. And I picked the T11s because why not? They're a little bit better. And as time goes on, I will actually add more of the T11 shielders when I start unlocking them. But I have other priorities well before that happens. But you can see here that, like, it's just brutal. My fleet isn't perfect. It needs more rockets. It needs less gunners. Generally, I'm kind of trying this idea of like a 60-40 split for my mid-range troops. And I'm leaving about 200,000, a little bit more, mid-range troops for the actual damage dealing portion. So when you're talking about, okay, hey, you have 200,000 troops to play with, and for those 200,000, you're going to grab, mostly rockets. You're looking at about 140 to 180k, and then 30 or so thousand of the gunners. And the reason why I'm picking like those numbers has very little to do with them being better or anything like that. It actually has everything to do with just utilizing Katie's breakthrough skill. So the two troop types with the most units have a 35% chance of attacking again after a normal hit, dealing some damage. That does add up, right? So you want to make sure that you have those two troop types. It's a tongue twister. Available, right? It's the same thing with, Simon, right? Simon is going to have this idea of the 4 troop types with the most units have a 25% chance of tactical block, which basically gives them 12% damage reduction. Well, hey, guess what? I'm using 4 troop types primarily, right? I'm using axes, tanks, gunners, and rockets. 4 troop types. So I'm planning these skills out, which is why you can see me taking on these bigger fights, is because I'm utilizing the tools available to me. The other thing that's helping me win some of these bigger fights where, like, I'm almost 100k troops down in this instance. And I mean, I smashed this guy. He got dominated today. Is, the statistics on increases in reduces damage. If you haven't seen any of my other videos on this where I scream at the top of my lungs that these are the best stats, please note that they are. If you doubt that, increase them and let me know how you feel about that once you have had a chance to get those really high. Let me know that in the comments, because believe me when I say that's the biggest difference that you're going to run into, right? Like, I have good stats. I have a strong city. But beating guys that have, 100K troops more than me, in this case, this guy was kind of weak, has become kind of normal ever since switching to mid-range. And I don't have a perfect fleet, right? I'm not at my critical mass of 140 to 180,000 rockets. I'm not at my critical mass of switching the T11 gunners out for the T11 stormtroopers, which is 100% my plan, right? When those two things happen, I'm not going to lose some of these other little fights that I was getting really close on. But let's look at a loss. Let's understand some of these losses. Sorry, I'm looking for one of my losses. Win. Here we go. All right, so I got smashed. I did very poorly. Homeboy here is a long-range city, 1,127% long range, 877 melee hit points, really good damage reduction and increased damage across the board. Zombies are hitting like trucks, and he has some T12 snipers, so he's at least the C36. And Titans are on point. He's got a bigger fleet than me, so the reason why I'm losing like this particular fight over some of the other ones, and this one I knew I had a very good shot of losing. I took a fight that was like 700k power down. I did it because I was buffed for the Triangle War, and I wanted to see how a fully buffed fleet would handle it. But this guy has the right fleet. He has the right troops. He has the right breakdown. And he's just got me outstatted at this point. So that one is a statistical fight. I don't think even with my best fleet, I could actually beat him. Not yet, at least. Maybe if I could hit like around 1,000 LRA and add another 200% to my melee hit points just to catch up to him, I'd win that fight. But that's a large amount of work that needs to go into that. For another loss, let's use it burn down. This one's a bit closer. So I've got him down below half his fleet. And anytime you can get somebody down below half, that generally means it's not a blowout, right? He's long range, 897 long range attack. I think this fight was done before I realized that I should reset my commander skills. So I'm missing like 30% MRA on this fight. That doesn't help me. Spoiler alert. And he's sending an okay amount. This is a pretty light melee fleet. So he's banking on killing me fast. His stats are all in line, so neither one of us really has the drastic advantage as far as statistics are concerned, minus his attack being a bit higher. And again, you can kind of see where, like, my Titans are still up right now, and we're 17 seconds into the fight. That's the goal. That's why I'm doing things the way I'm doing them. Because generally, the person whose Titans die first loses the fight. With mid-range cities, it gets a little bit tricky. That's why I say generally. And like, if I had killed both of his Titans before this moment, there's a chance I could have gotten a little bit farther. But yeah, you can see here, I got him down to just cannons and Titans. And really, it wasn't that far off. With a better fleet, I will beat this guy even with him having an additional 70,000 troops over me. So he's not going to live much longer. And the same thing here. This one's a super close fight. This one's going to be long range. He's sending all the right fleets. Again, I want more melee people. But good stats. 900 attack. His damage, increased damage to melee is really low. Really low. Like, pitifully low. Like, that needs to come up. But everything else is doing pretty good. And he won't last through that either. And again, I'm missing like 30% attack. So I actually think I could beat him right now if I fought him again. So if we end up finding him at some point, we'll go kick his teeth in for you guys. He's not in the same mine. That's unfortunate. But you can see it's been good. Honestly, the mid-range switch is the best thing I've done. It's the most fun I've had on my city in a long time. Highly recommend it. It's actually quite powerful. But I wouldn't go before C35. I've tried mid-range at C31. I tried mid-range at C32. I tried mid-range at C33 with the gunners. None of those feel good because the gunners are terrible as troops. They're not like snipers bad, but they're pretty bad. The issue with the gunners is they don't deal enough splash damage to really warrant a place in the meta that currently exists. They just kind of sit there, hit melee, and any troop that does that generally isn't going to perform well. Yeah, and so that's kind of the big update on the Switch. I'm going to make another video detailing fleets very soon. I know we briefly touched on what's being sent and why I'm sending it, but I actually really want to go into fleet breakdown, composition, troops, and which ones you should use at what points. That way everyone has a chance. You're going to notice that unlike my long-range fleets, my mid-range fleets tend to have 2 damage dealers. So there's going to be some information that you're going to really want to tune into, especially if you're thinking about mid-range, that will help you to perform better in the mines and to beat people with 300% more attack than you. I think I can help you do that. So good news. Stay tuned. And as always, please like, comment, and subscribe. Really helps the channel out a lot. And I'll see you all in the next one.